All right, we are live.
Very good.
Welcome, everyone, to Meet the Masters. I'm Tim Watson, and I'm joined today by guest host, Master John Gallagher. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon to you, sir. Thanks for allowing me to do this. I know a lot of us have been very intrigued and looking forward to this.
Well, just to preface this, you mentioned it last week when I talked to you, and I was like, all right, well, we might as well just do it since I needed an interview for this week anyway.
There you go.
And so here we are.
Very good. One hand washes the other, right?
That's right.
Very nice. All right. So, shall we get started, sir?
Absolutely.
First of all, thank you so very much for agreeing to do this. Like I said, I know a lot of us are interested in your background. Also, thanks in advance for all the stuff you did with this Masters interview, Meet the Masters program. I know many of us have enjoyed that, and of course, people all over the world in our World Tang Soo Do family have enjoyed it dramatically. So, tell us, sir, when did you get your start in the martial arts, and what prompted you to do that?
So I got my start in the martial arts in 2001. So it was November of 2001. So shortly after all the craziness that happened in 9/11,
Um,
I was friends with now Master Patrick Priest in high school, and we were friends. And there was a time where we didn't talk a whole lot for about a year, and then when we got back up, he started doing martial arts. He'd been training at Korean Martial Arts Institute in Newark, Delaware, and basically asked me to come to Buddy Day. So
oh yeah,
the Bring a Friend Day. So I'm whenever we have Buddy Day, I'm the guy who's like, you never know who you're gonna bring. They could be a lifer and stick around forever.
that's
So yeah, that's where I got my start. Like I said, Newark, Delaware, Korean martial arts. Back then, Master Godwin had 8 different schools. So that school was ran when I was there by Master George Maybroda. And I don't remember a lot about that day other than starting the night off with kicking drills, like front leg kicking drills. And then I found out that that was every night. So front leg side kick, front leg roundhouse kick, front leg hook kick. That was, you did the warm up, and that's how you started class, and then you were off to the races.
very cool. Wow, how about that? That's really neat. Uh, I didn't realize that you and Master Priest were friends since high school. That's really cool. Isn't it great how your friends get you into this, and then you just stay even closer friends? That's awesome. Very good. So, being one of the students in Master Godwin's tree, have you cross trained in other martial arts like Hapkido or something else?
Yes, I have, and it's interesting when you say the tree. I think I climbed every branch of the or most of the branches of Master Godwin's schools. So I started in Newark, and then I went to Hokasin. I was the head instructor in Kennett Square for years. I was all over the place. But yes, so I did Hapkido for many years, the Hapkido that I've done in the past definitely has made its way into our Tang Soo Do. I think it's a great hand in hand martial art. I've also done Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for quite a few years. So started that in 2007 and probably trained full time for about 6 of those years in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah. Now, of course, we know that Grandmaster Shin promoted the idea of training in other martial arts as a way of enhancing our Tang Soo Do skill. So, what have you learned from Hapkido, from Brazilian Jiu Jitsu? And of course, there's also judo involved in both of those martial arts as well. How do you think that has helped your Tang Soo Do skills?
I think it's helped my Tang Soo Do skills so we do forms, right? And when you start doing forms, you'll do a low block, and maybe there's not as much power in it that there should be. Same thing with a stepping punch in a front stance, where in my mind nowadays, that's like the ultimate. I'm going to give up all my balance for power. Where we don't always think about it that way. In Hapkido and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, your working on a technique to throw someone or to armbar someone or to choke someone unconscious. So there's an in-game, the period that you're going for at the end of the sentence in those techniques. And I think sometimes those technique that can be lost in doing forms in place or doing them in the air. They're absolutely there.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say killer instinct, but the martial instinct of having that technique be a strong finishing move, regardless of what it is.
I see. So those arts, would this be a correct way of summing it up, have helped you understand the killer instinct of our forms training and how
Yeah.
that's a very important part of what we do.
Yes. So if you talk to like high masters like Master Vaughn, where he talks about one steps as being like that, the one shot, one kill, right? You're trying to take them out. It might not work, but that's your best shot. And especially with everything that's been going on this year with the pandemic, I've been trying to find different ways to communicate how the forms should be looked at. And one of the things that I've talked about is what I said already is every time you step and punch, you're punching with full power, or at least you should be. And I think every Tang Soo Do or any martial artist that has forms in their system have told their students over and over again that you should be out of breath and tired after a form. And that comes along the lines of it. So
That's interesting. Let me ask you kind of you've inspired another question in me here is, do you think, bringing up the pandemic and how we have to train more solo, so to speak, not do as much partner work depending on the different rules of our states and our country. Do you think this will be an overall benefit for our students in their form training because they have to put so much into doing it by themselves?
I think there's a fine line. I was talking to one of the instructors that helps us out on a regular basis, and right before New Year's last week, we have like Ninja Warrior obstacles. So, and it was a light day, and I decided to set them up. So we did stations. So these guys were kicking, these guys were over here doing the ninja obstacles, and I talked to the instructor afterwards, and she was like, you know what, that was fun. We got in this rut of, with us, we have A days and B days. So A days we're doing forms, and B days we do sparring and stuff like that. So our B days are gone right now. So we've been doing nothing but forms. So sometimes you can get in that kind of rut. It's like, oh, I got to teach forms again. So you got to find ways to still make them enjoyable and not just be like, oh, we're going to go to class and do forms again. So yes, the answer is, I think that solo practice is good, and we've given people more opportunities to do that through YouTube videos and Zoom and those various technological marvels that we haven't had in the past. But at the same time, it's pushed me personally as an instructor to make sure I keep that stuff fresh, and the work disguised as fun aspect of our martial arts.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and that idea, of course, for the younger students especially, they light up when they see the cones out on the mat when they come to Dojang, like, oh, we're doing the obstacle course. Yeah, that's always a reward, isn't it? Right. Do you have, like our students would, come in and see those cones or see the things they have to crawl under or over and be excited about that. Do you have fond memories of that from training when you were a colored belt, a black belt, master's level? Like what fond memories do you have of your training?
So when I was 21 when I started, so we didn't do a lot of, if we got the mats out, it was because we were doing, actually, now that I say that, we would get the mats out and put the air shields up and do dive rolls over it and things like that. So, flying side kicks for as many targets as you can, which I still do.
That's cool.
Whenever I get it out for the kids, I can't help but be like, all right, let's see how many I can do. I know there's a day where that's not going to be as
Yeah, live
wild.
it up if you can, brother. Live it up.
Uh, yeah, so I mentioned those days training with Master Broda, and just being able to, when I was 21, it's right outside of the University of Delaware. So there was a lot of teens and early 20-year-old people that really pushed me to be a good fighter. Master Broda is a kicking wizard. Is one of the best kickers that I've ever met, and I was very influenced by his style, and he was that guy to push me that repetition is king, right? Like you gotta put the reps in, otherwise you're never gonna be good at anything that we do, not just kicks, but obviously forms, one steps, etc. So I have fond memories of those times in Newark as a GUP student. And I also look back and remember that I was that student that wanted to learn the form ahead of the form that I needed, So I, I realized that I'm now, I have to deal with that because that was me back then. It's like, slow down there, sport.
This is what you used to do to your instructor, and now we're going to do it to you.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, but how many times in the Tang Soo Do world have we discovered what goes around comes around?
Absolutely.
Very cool. Have you always had the desire to be an instructor? How did that end up? And what led you to be a Tang Soo Do master instructor?
My story is probably very similar to others, where what I would do is I worked in the same town that I would train in. So I'd get off work at 4:30, and I lived about 30-40 minutes away. So I would just go straight to the dojang, and whether it was sit there and stretch or practice techniques on the side, you go there enough times before your class, you're going to get pulled out on the floor to do stuff. Yeah. Hey, come here.
Come here.
So that was it. I remember probably around green belt, brown belt, hanging out for a youth beginners class, and I was asked to work with some white belts on forms, maybe Seikyung Ilbu. And honestly, I was a pretty shy kid growing up, quiet, kind of kept to myself. So doing something in front of people was a foreign concept to me back then.
Yeah.
So once I started doing it, though, seeing the light bulbs go off in kids, eyes, is like, oh, I got that turn on Seikyung Ilbu. Like I can't believe it. I know how to do that now. That started it, and then from there I just I kept going. Right before I got my black belt, I had the opportunity to go to what's now Cornerstone Martial Arts with Master Klaus,
right,
and be an assistant instructor there. And I got to work with him and Master Waters. And, those were my formative years of learning what a martial arts instructor was. Because if you've ever taken a class with Master Waters, like his personality, it just fills the room.
Yeah, he truly does.
And he was just amazing. He's a big man. I'm looking at the comments, and Master Claus said, "Who? Never heard of him."
Oh, really? Yeah. Feel free to questions out at yourself when you see that.
Yeah, it's just a lot of people are saying hello. One of my friends, glad to see someone's interrogating you. Yeah, so Master Klaus and Master Waters were huge inspirations for me. Like I said, Master Waters was so good he's good with everyone, but especially with the younger kids. He just had a way of kind of making them feel comfortable when they came out to the floor, making them laugh. But he would always give you that look like, all right, fun's over. It's time to get serious.
Yeah. That's just quaking in your dovak, right?
Right. Yeah, and then with Master Kloss, um, he's just so personable, and as soon as you meet him, he feels like someone that you've known for years. And when he would teach class, I remember probably the first two weeks I would take class, and he's famous for doing crazy line drills, like low
Oh,
block, high
yeah.
block, turn to the back, yuck Sue, turn back to the front. uh, and I just remember, like, you talk about testing your endurance and cardio and things like that. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, it's one of the impressive things, of course, about many of the people you mentioned is the tree, the lineage, the heritage, the Master Godwin tree that you come from. I mean, that's just incredible martial artists.
well,
And
good.
no, no, you.
I was just gonna say, I talked about the Newark Dojang, which is now Shoshin Karate. But I was thinking about it today, and just in like a 10-year span, the people that came out of that one was like Master Jason Church, uh, my wife Erin, um, Pat Priest, Matt Brown, Evelyn Wash, Gary Kirk. They all made it to Sodon and above, and that was just from that was the Master Maybroda uh, influence.
Yeah, that's awesome. Speaking of that, you're one of the members of an elite group in World Tang Soo Do, where both you and your spouse, the much more lovely Master Watson, and I would say more intelligent too, sir. No offense.
Hey, none taken.
Right? Yeah, we have to admit that when it's true, don't we? But
Yes.
it's it's interesting to see how spouses get involved in this, and um, I guess you both started training and met through tongues. I mean, I'm not asking for personal information, but is that how it happened? And what challenges does a team, a spousal team of husband and wife have, being these high ranks in World Tang Soo Do?
Yeah. So when I started, the year I started was the year that Erin went to medical school in Philadelphia. So she wasn't there on a regular basis, but she would come back on the weekends, and we were friendly. She would teach classes and train, and throughout the years, we obviously had friends that overlapped, through KMAI. So we would hang out every once in a while, and then the year she graduated medical school was also the year she got her third degree. So she was a second degree by the time I had already started. So she outranks me by she just tested for her fifth time.
Yeah. So
But
you're
she
bound, I guess.
outranks me a good bit. Yeah. So it was just one of those where we started hanging out. She came back to Delaware, and yeah, we started dating, and the rest is history as far as that goes.
Mhm.
As far as challenges go, I think one of the challenges, especially when you have children that are in and train as well, is being able to balance that, the instructor slash parent, like especially at tournaments when the Aaron and I are both judges,
All
or
right. Yeah.
is making sure that the kids are attended to, and they feel like what they're doing is important. So what we've done throughout the years is, if we do a regional tournament, one of us will judge on Friday, the other person will judge on Saturday, and that works out for us pretty well. As far as just day to day, it's nice having someone that kind of understands the plight of an instructor, and those working at the evenings. you
Mhm.
know so it's tough. It's nice right now with the kids being home that I'm at home and I can see them during the day a little more. But they both train. My oldest daughter's a black belt. My youngest is a Chodan. It's a
Nice.
little harder. It's a little harder right now with everything going on, because back before COVID, they could come in for the night, help teach and if one wasn't helping, the other one could be in the back. And now with keeping head counts down in the dojang, that's not really so figuring out how to get them there is a bit of a challenge right now. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have a support like her, because like I said, she knows what's going on. And then when we go places, we go to master's clinic together, or we go to black belt clinic together. It's nice, it's work, but it's work with lots of people that we enjoy being around.
Yeah, that's great. Mhm. Yeah, good support system there, huh? And like you said, understanding of, well, this is what I'm going through. That's great. Of course, both you and your wife are wonderfully dedicated, not just to your studio, but to Tang Soo Do and World Tang Soo Do, Region 8 in particular. Um, do you have any advice for people who are struggling through the peaks and valleys of, training and being dedicated and providing service and stuff like that?
Yeah, as we all go through those. It's one of those where you just have to kind of, steer right the ship. It's not that we're like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. The longer you push it off, the harder it becomes. And I think that's with anything, not just Tang Soo Do. So, like for me, for example, at the end of the year, I got on the scale and realized the number was a little higher than I wanted it to be.
COVID
So,
15, huh?
right. So it's like, okay, I need to get back. Obviously, I need to train more. I need to watch what I'm eating. And that's, it's one of those things. It's like, I know what to do. I know I should be doing these things. Smack, smack, smack. Come on, let's get this together. Um, Not just for me, but for the people that I work with. My instructors that put so much into me. I want to be a good example. I want to be a good example to my students. It's the old adage, like I don't want to make them do anything I can't do. Within reason. So I try to push myself to make sure that if something needs to be demonstrated, I can certainly have someone do it, because that empowers people as well. But also, if I have to do it, I can do it and look competent in it.
Right.
So, also accountability. Find a friend, find a friend to train with. Find a sibling, a spouse. Have some person that you're accountable to. That certainly helps as well. I have a group of friends that have helped me through the years in training. Again, we haven't been doing it a lot this year, or last year, but Jeff Setianto and Anna and Angel Salona have been my
Right.
Max Vernoy, Louis Donahue, my consistent training partners for years, where we would get together and train and spitball ideas and share, best practices for training, teaching, etc.
Right. That's a good group of people there.
Yes.
Awesome. If you don't mind, can we shift gears and talk about the Meet the Masters program?
Yeah, absolutely. You're in
Interest
charge.
it, no, you're a deal, sir. Right. The it's myself, and I bet a bunch of other people too are interested in the history of this. Like, how did this start? How did the idea come about? And how did you just make this happen?
So I've always been one of the guys that loves hearing more information, more than the surface, right? Getting to know people, as far as martial artists go, more than the surface. So I've always had ideas to do things. 3 or so years ago, I taught, or no, I gave a lecture at Region 8 Black Belt Clinic. And it was just kind of a brief history of the Region 8. And I got to talk to Master Robinson. I talked to Master Soon, Master Harsh. I interviewed them and we talked, and I got to learn more about them. And, I've had an idea to do something like this for years. Just never did it. I was going back and forth with Jeff a lot. And then I went back when you sent me that question, was like April. We finally were just like, you know what, we should do this. And so our first attempt was him interviewing me. And for a while, Facebook had this thing where you could go Facebook Live, and if anyone commented, you could bring them on live with you. So I thought we could do that, and we tried, and we failed miserably. So but I felt good that at least I was the guinea pig.
All right, good.
So that was it. And then after that, I started, my first one I did was with Dan Fairley from Region 9.
Right.
And then I just kept going from there. It's literally just me sending people messages and asking. Some of them are a little easier than others because I have a lot of great friends in and around the world. But others I had never talked to in my life. And like Master Khan, for example, I found his email on the association, like Locate a Studio.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I sent him an email and let him know what I was doing and what I was, interested in talking to him. And yeah, that was it. And it's one of those, you just put your neck out there and ask. And Master Khan, actually, both Master Khan, M Khan and Master D have been fantastic and great supporters of what I've been doing. And honestly, lots of people, we talked earlier about the Dudgeons, Lindsay and Peter have watched along with pretty much everyone, which is actually today is number 40. Today's episode number 40 for me.
I was going to ask how many episodes have you been? That's it.
So I've done 40. I think I looked, there's probably around between myself and Master Jorgensen, Master Setianto, Master Fairley, and then Jovel Zuniga from Puerto Rico. I think it was about 75 that got done last year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This is more, I guess, more a personal question for me, but you, in the episodes I've seen, and I've not seen every one, but you're so very good at follow-up questions and stuff like that. And it made me wonder if you had some kind of background in journalism or something like that. I mean, is this, where did the interest to interview come from? Is it from something like that? Where does your skill come from?
I thought about that, and I think I figured out where it was. I don't have any journalism, or it's just one of those things where I wanted to do it. No one else was doing it. I mean, other than the few guys that did it, and I wanted it to be out there in the world, so I just did it. And I think that the skill comes from, so as a martial arts instructor, you have people start new practically every day, or at least every week. You get someone who's at least interested, will call or email or come in. So whenever I do an introductory lesson, someone comes in for the first time, they come in and meet, and whether it's an adult or a kid, you got to work on having instant rapport with that person.
Right.
You have to make them feel comfortable with what they're doing, because it's a completely new experience. Sometimes it can be very overwhelming. They come in the middle of a class and they see everyone out there yelling or jumping, or the instructor being loud, and you get kind of that like deer in headlights with a kid, and you have to figure out a way to get them to be okay with, here, put this uniform on, and then come over here and I'm going to show you how to punch things. And you have to figure that.
When you're doing it.
What's that?
And you got to make noise when you're doing it.
Right. And so you have to make people feel comfortable with that pretty quickly. And then if they get shy, or if they seem a little like not sure of themselves, you have to figure out how to make them come out of their shell. And so I think those skills have definitely helped with the interviewing process. I look back on some of the earlier ones, and again, between technology and not really having any idea what to do other than writing questions and getting a feel for the person and responding. That's basically it. I mean, as I think of my years as a martial arts instructor and kind of thinking on the fly, definitely helped me in this adventure.
So it's like being a good teacher, huh?
I think so. Yeah. Because
That's
everyone's different. Every interview I've done, we all have one thing in common, which is our love for Tang Soo Do. But we've all come from different backgrounds. We have different stories of how we got to where we are. And you know, you can't just ask the same questions to everyone.
yeah. Well, excuse me. I'm asking you some of the very similar ones. Um, what you mentioned some technological challenges. What other challenges did you face in bringing this program to all of us?
I mean, finding scheduling really. Scheduling is probably the toughest one, uh, especially when you're talking about like. So I did one with Master Veronica Amarim from South Africa, who was like 7 hours time difference from us.
Wow, yeah.
Even our Great Britain friends are the same. You know, they're I think 5 or 6 hours. Master Marco from Sweden. So figuring out a time that matches is probably the hardest thing logistically. But other than that, it's pretty. I send people a Zoom link, we log on, and then we go on to Facebook. And you know, for the most part, other than a couple of times, I haven't really had any problems. There was one time that I we started a little later because I just couldn't figure out how to get logged on to Facebook.
Mm. So technologically scheduling, that's
Yeah.
good. Awesome. When we spoke last week, we talked about bringing historical figures to life, and I think that's one of the great benefits of this program, your program in particular, is that it makes the masters in our association more than just, wow, there's Master so and so up there with that belt on. It makes them people, not just masters of Tang Soo Do. Are there any surprising details of people you've learned about? Nothing too personal, of course, but just, wow, I never knew that about this person. That's interesting.
Yeah, there's a couple, and actually, Pam Russell just asked the same question, so you're on there. Um, the interview with Master Khan, and I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, but he talked about his wife is from our area, like the Philadelphia area, and they were coming over, and he asked her to set up a time to train with a master over here. This was probably in the early 80s. I'm sure if I get it wrong, he'll let me know. Uh, and he called the wrong person, and she ended up calling, I believe, Keon Yi, so my instructor, Master Goblin's instructor, and they met at a tournament, and then they set up to meet Grandmaster Shin, and they went to the Philadelphia headquarters, and they had their daughter Noreen with them in a stroller, and they got there, and this guy helped them carry the stroller up the stairs, and then it turned out to be Grandmaster Shin. And he talked about a lot of the Koreans that he had met in the past, and like his instructor were a little more kind of standoffish, or not they would never do something like that. So stories like that, really stories about Grandmaster Shin, are funny. Master Kaluzny shared a story. He uh, is giving me a hard time that I should be teaching at Evolution. I'll be there at 4 o'clock.
I'm sorry, sir. It's all my fault. It's
No,
my
no.
scheduling that's making him late. Yeah,
I'm not late. Class doesn't start till 4. Don't listen to him. So he shared a story of being at black belt testing, and him and Master Borriello were messing around. Grandmaster Shin was sitting in just a swivel chair, and he was saying that he was going to give Antonio $10 if he went and pushed Grandmaster Shin out into the middle of the
no
thing. And so, they joked about it for the day. And then, of course, Master Midas got wind of it and goes and tells Grandmaster Shin what he said. And he looked over and goes, "Joe, I'd kill you."
Grandmaster Shin had such a way about him, didn't he?
Yeah.
What an amazing guy.
Honestly, as far as surprising stories, it's just the fun stories of Grandmaster Shin and little things like that, and the things that people shared with him. Outside of that, I can't think of anything. Master Midas had his stories of hiding in an elevator shaft.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So that was pretty surprising. Not all that surprising when you think of Master Beam.
Yeah.
That was pretty. That he told him to hide, and he jumped in an elevator shaft so someone could use the.
Well. Yeah. Yeah, those little things are. It's amazing what we go through, isn't it? And it's just those fond memories. Yeah. Speaking of Grandmaster Shin, Lindsay Dungeon sent a question, and she wondered if you could ask Grandmaster Shin 3 questions, what would they be? So yeah, here's a question that wasn't on the list, sir.
I know.
On.
Why I think about that? Master Jorgensen says, "Great interview. Master Gallagher is an outstanding guest host."
I'm the best guest host you've ever had, right?
That's right. Well, my wife has co-hosted with me a couple.
Okay, well then, she takes precedent for sure. Yeah.
I love the origin stories. So hearing how someone got started is always, it's a great way to start a story, obviously. So I can only imagine hearing his stories of going to the dojang as a teen and basically having to sit there and watch for however long.
Months, right? Yeah.
And then, coming over in 1968 and getting his start in the US, asking him how he persevered through a lot of personal, issues, through Tang Soo Do. And I would probably ask him like how he felt once when he got his 9th dan and he was able to put an 8-3 black belt on someone for the first time.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty great one.
Some questions, yeah. When you think of that, isn't it amazing? It's basically his instructor said, "Go to America, organize Tang Soo Do," and he said, "Yes, sir," and made the arrangements. That's, yeah. So you'd ask him about the history, huh?
Yes. Yeah. Hey, there you go. You can get down with that, right?
Oh yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, that is fascinating. When we were on the China trip with him in, what was it, 2007, he showed us the unit. We stopped in South Korea for, what was it, a day and a half or something like that. And he showed us the university that he went to. We had, he talked about these buns that he used to eat with beans inside. That he was a poor college student, and that's what he ate a lot. And they've been struggling to find them up here in the Lehigh Valley. They're so good. But yeah, it makes the Masters personal to us, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, you said that a couple of times. I just wanted to share another quick story. And again, it's another Master Khan story where he just talked about and said, like, I want to do this. I want people to know that I'm just another person and I have struggles and, it's one of those things where all of these hopefully get people comfortable to where they just walk up and say, "Hey, I saw that interview and it was really cool that you did this," or, "Hey, I didn't know you were into that," or whatever the case may be. Because I know growing up, I thought that the masters were intimidating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Master Robinson, Master Fisher, who, 2 guys that I've come to know and consider friends now, but walking around being just, I understand. I have the face that doesn't have a lot of emotion, so I can look like I don't want to talk to you from afar.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear the backstories of people. There's never a chance at anything that we go to actually sit down and talk to someone for an hour and pick their mind about the the things that they've done in their lives through the martial arts. And so, you know, it's a great method to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's. I know you've mentioned already that you're setting up interviews for the future master class next week and others. So this will keep going as long as you have masters to interview, I imagine.
Yeah, as long as I have time to fit it in, I'm dedicated to continue to do this as long as I have the time. Absolutely, it's a fun project. You know, it's another way. Even though I haven't traveled at all, I've been able to connect and meet with new people from all over the world because of this.
Great. And of course, as I said at the beginning, we are very grateful for that. Of course, it's a great service to our World Tang Soo Do family. Um, Let me ask, what other things are you interested in besides Tang Soo Do? What are your outside hobbies or interests?
Outside hobbies. So like I said, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I kind of consider a hobby. I love rock climbing.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, Aaron and I are big rock climbers. Again, not so much. I've kind of went on and off with the schedule change with COVID. Before where my kids go to school, there was basically my house, the rock gym, and school. So
Oh yeah.
I could go on the way to pick them up and then pick them up, but you know that hasn't happened for about a year now. But I've been going some. Some people know I love Ninja Warrior, so I'm a big American Ninja Warrior fan. I have uh, I have a big set of monkey bars in the back of my house, including a 14-foot warped wall. Uh,
That's so cool.
yeah, it's huge.
You haven't posted videos of you doing that?
I'm sure a few are out there. Yeah, the oh, I lost you.
No, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
X-ray. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, those are the big ones. I like doing those things at the dojang. We have hanging rings from the ceiling and monkey bars, all thanks to my love of those things. So
That's neat. Now, what attracts you to rock climbing and the obstacle courses and things like that? What similarities do you see between your Tang Soo Do training and those pursuits?
um, I've also done a lot of Spartan races, like the obstacle course races. I, I I'm just a big kid.
Yeah.
I like to jump on things, over things, climb up things. Like I said, back from when I was a color belt, doing flying side kicks over as many targets as you can, or dive rolls, and I just like doing that type of stuff. It's just fun. Um, you know, I don't know if I have it. I think one of the things that Tang Soo Do might help with that is just the perseverance. You know, when you're in the middle of a race, the hardest one I ever did, it was up in New Jersey. Um, it was a half marathon, and it was on the Mount Vernon ski slope. So it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And you can't quit halfway through.
Yeah.
So you just have to keep pushing through. And I think that the martial art mentality of embrace the suck
Yeah.
comes through and helps in things like that, right? So
That's a great way to put it.
not break you mentally. You might,
Yeah.
I'm sure I was on the verge a couple of times, but yeah, I think that the mindset definitely helps with things like that. Real quick before you continue, we got another Master Wheeler says Master G can quit his day job. Fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
One of my students, Leslie, says basically Master Watson's an Avenger. I would love that. I'm a big that's another hobby. I'm a big comic book fan. I love the Marvel comics, all the Marvel movies. So I'm down with that.
Several of those masters, aren't there? Aren't the Jeff Santianto isn't Master Santianto? Those, and
Master Jorgensen creates
Yes,
his own action figures.
Jorgensen,
Pretty
yeah.
amazing.
That's neat because hey, we're all just trying to be superheroes in our own way, right? That's wonderful. Yeah, good to hear. Now let me ask you, sir, is there anything you would like to share as the interviewee? Right? Anything you want to add for the good of the order? Any interesting facts about you? We're not quite in an hour, but it's coming to a close, right? And I don't
Um,
want to late for class. I don't want Master Kaluzny upset.
he'll be fine. Don't listen to him. You know, it's, I said this earlier, doing these interviews and hearing all of the stories of Grandmaster Shin. So I got the opportunity to train with Grandmaster Shin a little bit. I never really got any one-on-one time with him to share a story or talk to him. But his presence, obviously in Region 8, was large, and it was a pleasure to be able to train underneath of him, or under his tutelage, and to get that more than most was a privilege. And I don't think I took that for granted. I definitely tried to be there whenever I could when black belt camps or leadership training, things like that. So to hear all the stories of people sharing those quiet moments, whether it was walking with him, in a garden outside of an event, or at black belt camp, being able to sit with him in the golf cart, like just seeing hearing about those moments is pretty cool. Talking about teachers, like my teacher, Master Godwin, is very instrumental in me being where I am right now. I Going back as far as memories go, I Master Khan was actually over for a practical application class for forms.
Yeah.
And so I came, and Master Godwin was there, and he wanted to practice some Hapkido techniques. And so there was this one technique where you're basically supposed to turn and do a dive roll over your arm while he sweeps the leg out from, he does a sweep. And I had never done it before, and I failed horribly at it. And I landed right on my shoulder, and I bruised my collarbone and stuff. So I was convalescing at home, and he called me and it's like, "Hey, you hungry?" I was like, "Sure." So we went out to Hibachi Steakhouse, and one of the memories, he's like, "Hey, you think we can eat $100 worth of sushi?" It's like, well, there's only one way to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But it was that moment where we were talking, and he wanted to know what my plans were, and I said my plans were to be a full-time martial arts instructor. And he's like, "Well, what's your time frame?" And at this point, it was probably 24, 25. So it was the year before I started dating. Actually, it was the year I started dating Erin, and I had no kids, I had no family. So I was like, "You tell me when I can, and I will." And so he didn't really have a spot for me at the time, but figured out how to put me on payroll to basically get me to where I was going. So like it was right before the what is now Legacy was about to open. So once that opened, that gave me the opportunity, and myself and Master Waters and Master Kloss ran that for a while. And then I kind of went back and forth. I went to the Newark studio for a while, and then I went back there in 2007 and had the opportunity to be there from 2007 to 2014, and got the chance to work with a lot of great students, some that are still there now. And even now, working with Master Kaluzny wouldn't have happened had Master Godwin not have given me the opportunity to be an instructor and to meet Master Kaluzny. And like I said, I owe a lot to his guidance on the mat and off the mat through the business side of it as well. So
that's awesome. It's wonderful how people steer us in direction, either overtly like Master Godwin did for you, or, those people that push us and we don't even realize that they're pushing us the way we're supposed to be going. And I had one of my college professors always said that those great teachers you have in your life, you pay honor to by the way you teach.
Mhm.
So the work you do with your students is paying homage and honor to Master Godwin and all those other great instructors you work with. You're doing a fine job at it, sir. You're doing a fine job. I don't know. Are there any other questions in that chat we can throw at you?
So Craig Falshnot asked, what do the letters IPA mean to you?
We can't talk about that right
Yeah,
now.
it's so if we go into hobbies, one of my other hobbies is I enjoy brewing. I'm
Oh, you actually do your own?
yeah, I do actually.
Oh man.
Yeah, I brew my own beer. I actually have one brewing right now in the basement. It is an IPA, Craig.
I was going to ask if you have any ambers there,
No, not a big. Actually, I do have a red ale. I have a red ale that we did that's quite nice. It kind of goes along the lines. I also like to cook as well. So
Favorite meal to cook, sir?
favorite meal to cook.
There's probably a lot of them, but pick one. Like if you could go to the kitchen right now, what would you make?
I just made them recently. Chicken enchiladas or seafood enchiladas.
Nice.
I got a great recipe for soup from Master Claus. I've been using for years. It's a peanut chicken soup that is quite good.
No way.
It's delicious.
Oh, that sounds so good.
You basically make a chicken soup and then you add a cup of peanut butter to it at the end.
Mm-hmm. I've had it before, and it was at one of the restaurants in the local area, and nobody else makes it, and it's just fantastic. Well, next back belt camp, place with a kitchen.
Yeah, or you can come down to Delaware.
Okay.
If you ever
remember how this started.
Yeah. Do you ever make the visit? Do you ever go with Master Horwath down to the beach?
Yeah, sure.
I'm on the way. We're on the way.
All right. Next time.
We're 10 minutes off of Route 1.
I'll bring some 12 ounces of those 3 letters you enjoy.
Yeah. Master Angel Salona says, you can let Master Gallagher know one of the highlights of George's martial arts career is Master Gallagher's sacrifice throwing him clear across the master's testing floor.
For some reason, I knew that's what she was going to say. He took that fall wonderfully, and I apologize to you, sir, because that just came. I didn't think about the consequences or anything like that. I just did that stomach throw, and yeah, he landed wonderfully. Well done. Thank you for not getting hurt.
I
have video of that.
I do want to share. It's a actually Grandmaster Bowden and Grandmaster Strong story. I haven't done a lot of traveling. I've done a little bit, going to Master's Clinic. I've had the opportunity to train with Master Elmore out in Seattle. I think 3 or 4 years ago, we got the chance to go to Aruba for the Region 18 championships.
Oh, beautiful.
And both Grandmaster Strong and Bodwin were out there, and it was a really cool experience. We had the opportunity to go and visit Master Noguera before that, and had a great time teaching their students before. I think it was, I want to say 2000, one of the world championships.
Mm-hmm.
But having the opportunity to spend some extra time with Grandmaster Bodwin, and I remember we were sitting by the pool one day, and there he just goes, he's walking by, and it's like, hey, there's Grandmaster Bodwin. Much like the time at Kalahari where he was I saw him floating on the lazy river. Both Grandmasters are floating on the lazy river. But I remember my daughter Avery is a little redhead, and she was probably 5 at that point. She's a cute kid. He was just like, I love her. She's such a little firecracker. And he talked to her a couple of times, and every time he saw her at the tournament, it was cool to see him interact. And
right,
they're both of him and Grandmaster Strong were are ambassadors for this the association that Grandmaster Shin started, and they're shining examples of what he wanted in not martial artists but people, right? They're
Yes.
they're people first, and they make everyone feel so special. Like, I'll always remember those moments, and realizing that the Strongs were across the hallway from us. It's like, oh man, look at that. They're right next to us. That's cool. That was a cool moment, and there was actually some great masters there as well. Master Elmore, Master Pacini from California, Master John Jensen. So again, another opportunity to hang out with people that you wouldn't necessarily get the chance to in a beautiful setting of Aruba.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
awesome. So.
Yeah, isn't it great how the Grandmasters, Grandmaster Shin, Grandmaster Godo, and Grandmaster Strong, they recognize that our children are important to us, and that means it's important. They're important to them too, and they go out of their way to make sure that our children are part of the family too. And like you said, it does speak very highly of our organization, right, and the people in it, of course, right. Anything else on that list, sir? We're about 55 minutes in. We can
I think
just.
so. If anyone else has a question, you feel free to ask. But I think we touched base. You go back and think about, like, when you did your interview, you talked about Master Horwath a lot, and how he's someone that helped guide you along, and you guys kind of went along the track together. And I'm just so, like I said, thankful for all of my friends that I've done this journey with, my wife included. She's my biggest fan. I'm her biggest fan. Doing things like when she was getting ready for her fifth dawn test, just being able to help her out if she had a question on a forum or watch a forum, just to, it's like, she's awesome, but we all need eyes on our
Right.
sometimes. So being able to be that person, for someone that I love, more than anything, is awesome. And then, like I said, the Jeff and Anna and Angel and Louie and Master Mabrook, Master Davis, Master Maybroda, Master Kloss, all those guys, like, when I teach, their words come out of my mouth. Like, I heard someone say one time, good instructors create, great instructors copy. Right? It's you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, there's good stuff that's come before you. You'd be a fool not to use it. And so that's it. I'm blessed to have such great friends in this martial art, and the fact that I've been able to meet people through this journey, and then even the Meet the Masters journey. Like, it's so cool how many people I've met throughout the world and throughout the US.
Right.
Like, even Master Amarim says, Tang Soo blessings from South Africa. Hello, ma'am. Linda Russo says, great interview. So thank you, ma'am.
It's the subject. Yes, definitely the subject.
So
that's your closing statement, sir, says it all. Thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of this. I know personally I was interested in this, and obviously people quite literally all over the world were interested in some of the ideas and some of the wisdom you could share with us. We are grateful for this. We're grateful for the program. We're grateful that you're a presence in our organization that we share together. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. It's one of those where I'm sure everyone has this. It's like, well, I'm not sure what exactly I can share, but no, it was fun to be able to do this on the other side, and feel the sweat, and then,
Little butterflies in there.
So I appreciate you doing this with me. It was fun. So thank you, sir.
Sure.
All right. Thank you
so much, Tang Soo, sir.
Tang Soo. See you, everyone.